Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. After lots of discussion about SIG and the P365 series, I wanted to kind of bring it back and talk about why I still love my Glock 48 MOS and why I'm still carrying it about 80% of the time. In this video, I'm going to cover why I chose the Glock 48 to begin with, why I've continued to enjoy it, some of my complaints, and we're even going to touch on the shield arms mags. So I have a video about why I chose the Glock 48 over several other options, and I want to note that I actually chose the Glock 48 over any of the P365 series guns about a year and a half ago, and I'm revisiting the P365 series, or I have been revisiting it over the last 6 months, and I continue to plan on working with it and trying different variations to kind of see how I can optimize it. But in this video, I'm talking to you guys about why I still love my Glock 48. When I chose my Glock 48 over these several other options that I tried, I chose it because I wasn't super duper focused on size, and I was prioritizing optics ready and shootability. And all the guns that I tried that day, the Glock 48 I shot the absolute best, enjoyed shooting the most, and that's why I chose the Glock 48 over those other options. A question that I get asked a lot, and that honestly I plan on just making an entire video about it, is why I chose the Glock 48 over the 43X, and that's because honestly, I feel like I enjoyed shooting the Glock 48 more, and also in terms of concealment, generally the Glock 48 is going to conceal better and more comfortably because of a thing called the Kill Principle. I'll link a video up here about the Kill Principle, I'll link it down below, but generally a longer slide is going to be more comfortable and more concealable. Next, I want to talk about why I think I've continued to enjoy shooting the 48, even after trying several other guns over the last year and a half. And honestly, I think it's because it fits me really well. It's not super duper wide like the Glock 19, and don't get me wrong, the Glock 19 is an awesome gun and works for a lot of people, but I have these itty bitty little claws, and I feel that the Glock 48 actually works much better in my hand and fits much better between these this little section here. Just because it's thinner, and I find that it's a lot easier for me to manipulate over the Glock 19. The other thing is that there's absolutely something to be said for familiarity. It's something that I've taken every single class that I've taken with the Glock 48. So every little bit of instruction I received, or at least every little bit of professional instruction that I've received, has been done with my Glock 48. And so I just know it so well. I feel confident drawing it from the holster. I'm really consistent with it. So again, there's something to be said for familiarity, and that's something that I'm working on getting with the SIG, but it's a lot harder. I feel like the grip angle is a lot different, and it's taking me a while to kind of gain that familiarity with a completely different platform. The last thing, and honestly this is a really big thing, and that is that I can put a striker control device on my Glock 48, and I've been running a striker control device since the day I started carrying. When I was carrying my Glock 42, Glock 48, I've always had a striker control device on my gun, and it's a feature that I really, really appreciate having, and it's probably one of my biggest issues with moving on to anything else really, because I really, really appreciate being able to thumb down on the back of the slide and be able to receive tactile feedback on what my trigger's doing as I'm going into the holster. But I absolutely do have some complaints about the Glock 48. One of them, and I knew this going into purchasing the Glock 48, is that for its size, the capacity just really isn't that good. Like with what everybody else is doing with their magazines, I know Glock is Glock and they don't like to change things very often, but it would be nice if they could work on making a magazine that actually has pretty decent capacity for single stack guns, and I don't know why that hasn't happened yet. Don't ask me, it's super annoying, but it's only 10 rounds plus 1. And we're gonna talk about the shield arms mags. We're gonna talk about the shield arms mags. Moving on. My next complaint is that it requires a plate to mount an optic onto it. And that's not really something that bothered me. Again, I knew that kind of going into it, and so I bought a CNH plate, and I've had absolutely zero issues with my screws backing out or any issues with my optic at all. But I have had a lot of people actually email me and be like, how are you not having your optic falling off of your MOS slide all the time? And it's just not necessarily something that every single person out there knows, that they need to have a plate on their MOS 48. That's a complaint. The MOS system is not super duper amazing, but it's also easily fixed by just using a quality plate. The main complaint that I have though is that it can just be really difficult for me to conceal at times. I mentioned this in last week's video that I am a tiny person generally, and my hips are really narrow, and so concealing a Glock 48 is actually proportionally larger on my body than a Glock 34 on an average size male. So it's a fairly large gun for me to be carrying, and that is a complaint. Like I wish it was a lot easier for me to carry, and that's why I've been looking into another system, is because I want something that I can shoot really well but is also really, really easy for me to conceal. And the Glock 48 ticks a lot of boxes that the Sig P365 series doesn't, and the Sig P365 series ticks a lot of boxes that the Glock 48 doesn't. There's a lot of trade-offs going on there, and both of those guns serve really different purposes for me. My Glock 48 is still my primary carry gun, and the Sig P365 is the gun that I use when I need to have deep concealment, whereas like my gun is entirely below my waistband, or I'm carrying in something like a dress or a skirt. Someday I'll probably settle in on a specific platform and not deviate from it, but in all honesty, I'm only about 2 years into my shooting journey, period. Like, guns were not a part of my life prior to 2 years ago, and so I'm still like feeling it out. I'm still trying to figure out what is out there, what's available, and what I enjoy shooting and carrying. So I'm all for you guys down in the comments telling me what you ultimately landed on, especially if you are similarly fun-sized, and I would be totally open to that. Again, I'm just kind of on this journey, trying to figure it out, still loving my Glock 48 a year and a half in, but I certainly have my complaints, which leads me into talking about the Shield Arms mags. The Shield Arms mags are 15-round flush-fitting mags for the Glock 48 and the Glock 43X, and at the time I was buying my Glock 48, the Shield Arms mags were all the rage. Like, you couldn't hardly get your hands on them. You would have to wait for multiple months, or you spend astronomical prices to get them from eBay or something, because everybody wanted these mags. Who doesn't want a flush-fitting 15-round mag in a single stack Glock? Therefore, I can't really talk about the Glock 48 without also discussing the Shield Arms mags. When I was going to buy my Glock 48, I had it in my head that I was buying a 15+1 capacity gun, not a 10+1 capacity, because I'd always planned on carrying the Shield Arms mags. They had really, really great reviews, and it seemed like pretty much everyone was having really, really great, consistent, and reliable results with them. And I think I bought 4 or 5 right out of the gate, and started taking them to classes. The first class that I took my Shield Arms mags to, I had a 20-round, like, extended mag explode at the end of the class, and I thought, I must have just installed it wrong. I must have damaged it when I installed it. But when I shipped it back to Shield, they said that it actually was a mag that received a bad heat treat, and that's why the extended piece actually sheared off of the mag and exploded like that. And so again, I just kind of chalk that up to I got a bad heat treat batch, and I didn't have any issues with my mags at all after that. No feeding issues, nothing like that. So I carried my 15-round Shield mag for a year, until I attended Tim Herron's class, and I had another extended mag explode in the exact same way at the end of a 2-day class. Shipped that back to Shield Arms, and they said this was a bad heat treat batch. You must have gotten multiple bad heat treats. And so I sent all of my Gen 1 Shield mags to them, and they replaced them all with Gen 2s. But I stopped carrying my Shield mags because of those 2 catastrophic failures. And mind you, those catastrophic failures were only with the extended magazines, but it was enough of a consistent issue that I discontinued use with the Shield mags. And I've also since then heard of a lot of people that I trust and know how to run their guns who have had issues with their Shield mags. So I've discontinued carrying use with my Shield mags, but I absolutely still use them for classes and for USPSA matches, because it's super duper nice to have a 20-round mag during a USPSA match. And I've not had any issues with my Gen 2s. I have run them for about 6 months now, and again, I've not had any issues, but I'm gonna kind of continue to test them. I haven't been able to put as many rounds through them in the last 6 months as I would have liked to, because ammo prices are a whole thing right now. But once I can afford more ammo and afford to run more through them, I'm interested to see how they perform. But as of right now, I have a lot of people actually ask me about my opinion on the Shield Arms mags, and I've not had any issues with my Gen 2s, and I use them for classes and matches, but I no longer will carry Shield Arms mags. All in all, I have been loving shooting and carrying my Glock 48 MOS since December of 2020, and I foresee myself continuing to carry it probably about 80% of the time. The other 20%, I am carrying either my Glock 42 or my Sig P365 because I need to have a smaller setup for really specific outfits and occasions. And because of that, and because of the issues that I can sometimes have with concealment, I can totally see myself moving on to a different platform. But for the last year and a half, I've been loving my Glock 48 and I plan to continue carrying it. Thanks for watching today's video. I hope that you enjoyed it and that you have grown to love your Glock 48 as well, and that this might have cleared up a little bit of confusion about my Glock and Sig debacle. See you guys in next week's video. I just finished filming this video. My glasses are on the counter. My husband walks in and he goes, "Don't forget your glasses," because I do that sometimes and it makes me very cranky when I forget my glasses at home. So, off to the range.